When you have your girls, you're never alone. You get together for coffee, maybe to work out, or just to laugh. We created Hey Girl just for you. Can't wait for you to join us.
Hey everybody, welcome to Hey Girl. I'm your girl Kim with an E, and this is episode 104. Now, if you're joining us for the first time, I want to let you know that Hey Girl is a safe space where you can share your experiences and be affirmed. Let's face it, life can be complex and sometimes overwhelming. That's why we believe in the power of conversation, because knowing you're not alone is what will help you get through. And I'm so glad you're here today. We have a great show in store. Come on in. Be sure to share this live with everyone you know, all your friends. Make sure that you're already following the Hey Girl page, like, follow, share, you know the routine. And definitely get ready for a great conversation today. As you know, all month we've been talking about health and fitness, very broadly speaking. And we're going to continue that conversation today. Before we get into that, though, I want to remind you to sign up for the Just Kim newsletter if you have not done so already. Make sure to do that. Every week, I send you some tidbits and free downloadables into your inbox, and always a message of encouragement, because I know sometimes life gets hard and we want to be here for each other all through the week. So be sure to sign up. Go to justkim.net, sign up for the newsletter, opt in for the book club that is currently going on, as a small group of ladies are joining a private Zoom to talk about my book, Trust the Process, How Writing Can Help You Get Unstuck. How many of us are trying to figure out what our purpose is? This book could very well help you figure that out. I talk about how you can use writing as a tool to dig a little deeper into what God has purposed you to do and who He has purposed you to be. So I'd love for you to check out the book. Of course, you can get it on Amazon. And then if you opt in for the book club, you can get together with some other ladies who are going through the book together. And sometimes that makes it easier to do it, when you have a book that you're going through, it becomes, sometimes it's helpful to have others that you can talk to about it. So I'd love for you to do that. Of course, I also would appreciate if you would share. I don't mean share. I do mean share, but I would love for you to follow us on YouTube. Of course, you know that the recorded episodes go over to our YouTube channel, and I certainly encourage you to share those YouTube links with those of your friends who are not on Facebook. Make sure that they follow our YouTube page, and you can share the links to our past episodes with them there as well. We have had a great month of guests. And of course, if you've missed any of those past episodes, you can go to the YouTube, or you can go back on the Facebook page to our playlist. I don't know about you, but I have really enjoyed these conversations. Last week we talked about sexual health. The week before we were talking about how to lose that belly fat. And the week before that we were talking about eating right. And so we're just trying to cover the full gamut. And of course, every month we have a different theme, and we've just had some fantastic guests. I'm just super excited about the women that we've had the opportunity to meet and talk to, and I hope that you appreciate them as well. Of course, we always want you to like, follow, and share their social media stuff as well. We have some women who are doing some amazing things. They have their own businesses and their own ministries and services that they offer. And we want to support one another and make sure we're all doing well. So don't forget to support the women who have been on our show in the past 104 episodes. How about that? Um, so I feel like there was something else I wanted to say about that, talking about past guests. Oh man, that's how you know you're getting old, when you have a thought and then it goes away. All right, it'll come back to me, I hope. But in the meantime, go ahead and like today's show and share today's show. And I'm going to introduce you to our guests. I guess what I was going to say is we've had some wonderful guests on the show, and today is no exception. I have been trying to connect with today's guest for the longest, and we finally got it together. So I'm super excited to introduce you to Nicole Snell. She is a dynamic international speaker, facilitator, and self-defense expert specializing in sexual assault prevention education, gender-based violence prevention, personal safety, and empowerment. She is the CEO of Girls Fight Back, founder of Outdoor Defense, and lead instructor with both Impact Personal Safety and Impact Global. She is an NACP credentialed advocate and is committed to ending violence in all of its forms. She believes in social justice, equality, and that everyone has the right to walk through the world feeling safe, powerful, and confident. Nicole's mission is to empower women and people of all gender identities to live their lives fearlessly. And she's here today to tell us how. Please welcome, if you would, my guest today, Nicole Snell. Hey, girl.
Hey, girl. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
I'm so glad to have you. And before we talk about all the things, I just remembered what I forgot a little while ago, and I'm gonna fix it now. Charge it to my head. My head is not too good these days. But I was going to say that one of the things that we do is support women-owned businesses, and we have the Hey Girl High Five, and I wanted to remind everyone about that. Make sure you're supporting those women-owned businesses. A lot of them have been guests on our show, and we just want to make sure that we're supporting those who are doing good work. And of course, Nicole, you are one of those people who are doing good things, offering great services, and I'm so excited to hear more about what you do and what you offer, so we can add you to our Hey Girl High Five also. And I'm just glad that I remembered finally. The old noggin is just not what it used to be.
Oh man, I hate that when something comes in and then it goes out before you can actually get it out of your mouth.
I'm telling you, it's just a struggle today. I don't know what it is. But welcome. Yeah, we have had a hard time connecting, but we're finally here.
Yes.
I'm so glad. And so I have just met you, and I know that our viewing audience probably doesn't know you yet. So maybe you can just start by telling us a little bit about yourself, help us to know who you are, and then we'll talk about what you do.
That sounds great. Thank you. And thank you again for your flexibility and for us finally being here today. I just couldn't be more thrilled. So a little bit about me is I grew up in a very small military town in Southern California called 29 Palms. And my dad's a retired Marine. And so I grew up out there and was surrounded by desert. Joshua Tree National Park was pretty much my backyard. And I lived my young life out there. I'm very close to my older sister. I have a family that is complicated, as I'm sure most families are, but I love my family with all my heart. And my sister Michelle and I are extremely close. She's the one in the far left of this picture that you see on the screen. So I went to high school out there, graduated, and went to Cal State Long Beach, where I finished in 4 years. I had a scholarship to go, and I graduated summa cum laude, very much an overachiever, and got a degree in speech communication and went right into working in TV production. And so I started as an intern and was then a PA, and then worked my way up to where I was a line producer pretty quickly. I moved up pretty quickly, which was great. I worked on a lot of fun projects with a lot of great people. And as my career progressed, I felt like I wanted to do more. I wanted to do more for women. I wanted to do more for Black women. I wasn't really sure how to do that with, in production. It's very much dependent what jobs you work based on what's actually being produced. So if there were no projects that called to me, I would just need to work on whatever was available and whoever needed, my services at the time. So around the time that I was at my very last production job, I was contacted by the campus that I graduated from with the group that I did work doing domestic violence prevention. And they had just been contracted to do this work for the Navy and to travel to military installations doing sexual assault prevention work. And of course I said, wow, I would love to do this, but I have a full-time job. I don't know how involved I can be. And wouldn't you know, our entire department got laid off not soon after I was originally contacted. So I said, well, we were allowed to finish the project we were on, which was a really fun project, building motorcycles for a video game that we were doing a docu-series on. And so the project with the Navy was going to start as soon as this project was done. It just lined up so perfectly. And so that's kind of what jump-started me into women's empowerment, sexual assault prevention work. And I don't know if you want me to keep going because this kind of goes into my origin story, but I thought I'd stop there.
Yeah. I was like, oh, wait. There's things I want to like follow up on real quick. So it's interesting that you start off doing a very different career field, basically. And I don't know if everyone knows all the different terms that you threw out, line producer and PA. I don't know if everyone knows what those things are. Maybe you can help us out, get a better sense of what those things are and what exactly you did in that previous career.
Yeah, of course. I forget that not everyone is familiar with all the terminology. In TV production, a PA stands for production assistant, and it's usually the first job that you get in production. It's the person that does all the runs and empties the trash and is just there on set to basically take care of any needs that need to be taken care of. And it's usually the lowest paying job. And I will say this, that PAs are so important. So if there are any PAs out there, I don't ever want you to think that you are not an integral part of the production process, because you are. And I say that because on one of my jobs, I remember saying something to the audio person that, oh, I'm just a PA. And he stopped me and he said, you're not just a PA. Like, we couldn't run the show unless you were able to go out and pick up the lens that, we broke a lens and we need a new this, or someone forgot to pack this, or, we need you because who else is going to do it? We need you to be able to do it so all of us can do our jobs. And it really helped me see my position differently. And I carried that with me as I moved up the production ranks and had a more senior position, because I always wanted to treat the PAs that worked for me with that same respect, that same, care, and give them the opportunity to grow in that position and then proceed to do anything else they want to do and not think that their job isn't important.
I think that's so important too, and I'm glad you said that, because I know there's a lot of people out there, maybe they're not in production, but they have those lower level jobs, or maybe they're students who are just, graduating and going into their first jobs, which are often entry level. And there is that assumption. I mean, even, service jobs, such as janitors and the people who pick up our garbage, those kinds of jobs are often looked at as somehow lesser than. But you're right. Like, how necessary are those people who do those jobs? What would we do without them? And I think it's so important to not have that mentality about hierarchies and who's better and who's worse, because everyone is essential in one way or another. Whatever your job is, it's needed. Otherwise, you wouldn't have that job, right? So exactly. I think that's really good to make sure we clarify that. And every experience that you have, every job that you have teaches you something that prepares you for the next thing. So yeah, that's good. That's good. And so that leads me perfectly into my next question, which is, so how, obviously it's interesting that you went from television production to domestic violence prevention education. And I'm interested in, so you got the call, apparently you were doing something even while you were working in television, or maybe when you were in college, that had to do with this area. Can you talk a little bit about what you were doing that made them call you to come and lead this project?
Yeah. So when I was in college, I had a class, I believe it was a gender studies class. I'm not sure, but what they did is the professor had developed a program that was like a performance and educational, but also advocacy. And it focused around domestic violence, and it included actors and facilitators. And it was a very, highly engaging show that we would do. And I call it a show because it was like a performance, and, people were really engaged in it, but we gave really great information, but used humor and audience interaction, things like that to get the message across. And so we would do that when we were in college, but we didn't do it very often. We would do it for other classes, and there was a couple times we would do it for other universities. And then I graduated, and I believe they continued the work. And then so when the opportunity came that they needed facilitators and actor advocates for working with the Navy, they reached back out to me. And so I was very honored that they did that.
Got you. Okay. Yeah. I was curious to know how you got started, like what led you to do this work. Was there anything in particular when you were in college that made you think, yeah, this is really important. I need to be involved in this. Did you have any personal experience with domestic violence or know of individuals who had, experienced that kind of propelled you to do it as well?
I did. So I grew up, and without getting into too many details, I'm not sure if you know the statistics, but 1 in 4 women are survivors of sexual assault and violence. And I am part of that 1 in 4. And so I experienced abuse when I was a child, and I witnessed abuse in different situations as well. And then I've always been really stubborn. Something that I just have always had in me, that I didn't want people telling me certain things I could or couldn't do with my life. And I remember when I went off to college, people telling me, well, make sure you don't walk by yourself, and make sure you don't go to this part of town, and make sure that you always have this, and the laundry list of don'ts of what I wasn't allowed to do and where I wasn't allowed to go, and the restrictions that were all going to guarantee my safety, which actually don't guarantee safety at all, were just thrown at me. And I remember being so resistant to that and saying, no, I'm going to go where I need to go. I'm going to do what I need to do. And I want to I just didn't like always feeling like in order to be safe, people wanted me to make my world smaller. And so when the opportunity came to work with the group in doing domestic violence prevention, I thought this is so important because so many people are experiencing this, especially in the Black community. Like the numbers of the violence in our community is higher than in most other communities, with the exception being in Indigenous communities. The numbers of people who experience sexual violence and domestic violence are higher, but especially in our Black communities, this is a really big problem. And so I wanted to do something that would give back, that would give people the power to live our lives and be more in control, and to not walk around the world in fear.
Wow, 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 wow. That is so true. Everything that you just said about how you're told to all the things not to do as a way to keep you safe, and yeah, just hearing you say that makes me know that there's so much that we don't know that we should as women about how we can and should move through the world, and maybe the ways that we have been restricted from doing so. And maybe we didn't even realize that. I think it's very easy just to buy into the common logic. So let's talk a little bit about some of those lessons that you teach through these courses, these educational performances, and so forth. Like, what are some of the things that you are helping people to know that they probably didn't know before? What are those kind of maybe misconceptions that you have to dispel?
Yeah. So the first thing that I teach, and I just want to make sure to clarify. So the work that I was doing before is not the same work that I'm
Yes,
doing now. When I
yes,
started
yes,
doing
yes.
work for the military, I got introduced to the owner at the time of Girls Fight Back. And then I became a speaker. And then I had to take a impact personal safety 16-hour self-defense class, full contact, and graduate from it. And after I did that, I said, I want to teach this too. So I am now a lead instructor for impact. And then in 2020, the owner of Girls Fight Back was selling the company, and I purchased
Mm,
it before COVID, and then
mm,
COVID hit. But I felt like I was the best person to take the messaging forward, which is teaching self-defense. What Girls Fight Back was doing was teaching self-defense in colleges and high schools, primarily to women, but then we expanded and we teach to people of all gender identities, because everybody can benefit from learning how to respond to danger, how to set boundaries, things like that. And so that's what I do now. And to answer your question, the thing that I think is most important for people to understand is just how powerful we are, especially as women. There's so much messaging out there in our society that tells us that we're weak, that we should be quiet, that we're not strong, that we have to rely on other people to protect us, that there's no way we could possibly protect ourselves. And all of that messaging is just meant to control us and make our world smaller. And so my programs are about making your world big. I don't give you a list of don'ts. I don't give you a bunch of restrictions. I solo hike and I solo camp and I solo travel, and I do them with joy and passion and confidence, because I know that I have the skills to protect myself if I need to. And I want everybody to have those skills so that everybody can feel confident living their best life and doing what they want to do. Restrictions don't make us safer. They just make us smaller. They actually can make us more scared, more fearful. And I want to give people the information to help them feel confident. And the confidence that comes from what I teach, which isn't just physical, it's a combination of physical and verbal and non-physical. We can use that in all areas of our life. When we're dealing with our family, we're dealing with our friends, we're dealing with our relationships, we're dealing with our coworkers. So it has so many life benefits that can just help us feel more free.
Wow. Yeah, I guess I jumped right to what do you do? What do you teach? But thank you for filling in that gap. So just so I'm clear, what you do with Girls Fight Back is these trainings, and do you just do them for different groups, different organizations? Just you travel around and do self-defense as well as like give me some sense of the day-to-day, your day-to-day. What does it look like when in the role that you have now owning Girls Fight Back?
Yeah, so I am Girls Fight Back. I don't have a team yet. I have a couple people that help me with some things on the side as I need. And, I reach out to graphic designers as I need and things like that. But I am the CEO, and I'm the social media manager, and I'm the accountant, and I'm the intern, and I'm the travel agent. I'm everything. But what I do, I do it all. And I look forward to the day that I have a team so that I can give people jobs and also have help doing what I need to do. But what I do is it's a 75 to 90 minute seminar or a keynote. So organizations can hire me to come and speak. It doesn't have to be a big organization. It could be a small group. I work with high schools, elementary schools, colleges, the U.S. military. I'm working with them again, but in the capacity of Girls Fight Back and teaching boundary setting. I work with women's retreats, the healthcare industry, the travel industry, realtors, BIPOC organizations. I mean, anyone who wants to feel safer, workplace harassment, sexual harassment training, safety while traveling. I can customize programs to reach whatever the client needs. So they invite me to their group and I do a presentation, an interactive presentation. They will learn physical skills if they want to. And then I will encourage them after the presentation, if they want to learn more physical skills and actually put those physical skills to practice, to take a full contact class, at their convenience. So what I'm able to do is I'm able to reach a lot of people in a short amount of time with some basic information that they can walk away with immediately and start using. It's simple, it's practical, there's no victim blaming, there's no list of things you have to go and buy or things that you have to remember to do to be safe. It's all about, I want my audience to walk away feeling empowered, feeling lighter, feeling confident, feeling capable, feeling in control.
Okay, so after this, I'm going to call you back and we're going to get you booked to come to our high school or something.
I would love to.
Yeah, and I have daughters, and one of the things that I am terrified of right now as they are becoming the age of independence is them being victims, and it's so interesting the statistics that you gave about Black girls in particular, because often it's the pretty little white girls that are put up on the news, missing and whatever. But you're right. I have heard that it's actually more Black girls who are, victims,
Yes.
and their stories are just not told. And so, certainly as a mother of girls, it is terrifying to think about them going out in the world and not being prepared for whatever may come. And so, as a mother, I want to be able to equip them with as much as I can to prepare them for whatever they may encounter. So if you were talking to a mother like me, and giving advice, some things that you should tell your daughters, what would you say?
Oh, the first thing that I would say is that it's okay to use your voice, that your voice is powerful. Your voice is often your first tool, your first weapon for defending yourself. So that can be in the form of boundary setting, saying no, telling someone that they're making you feel uncomfortable, and understanding that your boundaries matter. And if someone gets upset or their feelings hurt or they think you're mean because you set a boundary, that is not what's important. What's important is how you feel and your safety. And it's okay for you to say and do what you need to in order to be safe. I wish I would have had this when I was in high school,
Yeah.
to know that I could say no, to know that I could speak up, to know that if it makes the other person uncomfortable, it's okay if I'm setting my boundary and saying, look, I don't want you to sit this close to me, or I really don't like what you're doing right now. And to know I had the power to say it. I didn't feel like I had that autonomy. So I think that's the most important thing I would tell moms with daughters. Just let them know that they have power and their voice is powerful.
Yeah, yeah. And everybody has a different personality, and I have two girls that have slightly different personalities. One would probably be more inclined to maintain that distance, and she's more of the introvert. The other is much more of an extrovert, likes to make people happy, wants everybody to be happy, would probably be less comfortable with saying, setting boundaries and that sort of thing. And so I guess the trick is just regardless of your personality, you know, doing what you have to do. And maybe for some it's harder than others because, like I said, one personality type might be like, get away from me. Whereas others
Right.
might be like, oh, I don't want to hurt their feelings. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is hard, and it's not something that we're brought up learning. And so it might be hard when we first learn this new information to start implementing it. But once we know it, we can start practicing it in our daily interactions, and we just get better at it as we go along. And what I teach is basically a toolkit. And you get to pick and choose what works for you. It's not about you always have to respond to this situation in this way, because that's not the way safety works. That's not the way self-defense works. And I don't believe that's empowering to tell people you have to respond this way all the time, because we're all different and we're all different each day. Instead, I just want to give you options, and then you pick what's going to work, because maybe strategy A is not going to work in the situation you're in, but strategy D will. Great, then you use that one. But the next day, maybe it's strategy C that works. And that's what it's about. It's just giving you options so you don't feel like you have to, there's no proper way how do I want to say this? There's no like one way or proper way of managing your safety. You do what you can in the moment.
Right. Yeah, I get that. So let's talk about some of the things that you teach as far as self-defense. A young girl shopping and walking to her car at night, somebody comes up behind her. Like, what are some of the things that you tell girls and women in particular to do to protect themselves when they are, encountering an actual live threat?
I would say your intuition and your awareness are probably your two biggest strategies for safety. Now, what we teach with Impact is we teach physical skill. I mean, we teach verbal skills as well, but we actually are going to give you the physical practice to where if a worst case scenario happens, you're not able to get away, you're not able to de-escalate the situation in any other way, and your life is at risk, then we're going to teach you how to use your body and your physical skills to protect yourself. But if we can get out of the situation without a fight, that's always the best fight. So that's why our intuition and our awareness are so key. And awareness doesn't mean you have to have your head on a swivel and you're always looking behind you and you have to just be hyper vigilant. That's not what it means at all. I teach awareness as awareness being a conscious acknowledgement of your surroundings, giving yourself permission to acknowledge what you're actually seeing. And then once you notice what's going on in a situation, now you have the power to decide what to do next, to problem solve, to avoid it if necessary. You know, if someone, for instance, is being followed, my advice is if you notice someone following you and, you know, you can try to cross the street, sure, cross the street if that's safe to do. And if the person continues to follow you, well, now you know they're following you. And I would turn around and address them, because that's probably not the reaction that they're expecting. And it changes the dynamic from predator prey. It also puts you in a better position to address if that person really is going to attack you. Attacking someone from behind gives the advantage to the predator for that moment. We teach people how to fight back if you're attacked from behind. It's not the end of the fight. Like, there's still plenty you can do. But if we can address the person head on, that's a better position for us to be in, because now we have the opportunity of potentially de-escalating the situation to where the other person walks away. So you could just turn around and say something like, hey, good evening. Or if you're older, I wouldn't recommend a teenager saying what I'm going to say next, but as an adult, I will. I'll turn around and say, hi, you've been following me for quite a while. Is there a reason for that? And I've actually done that.
Really?
And the person said, oh, no, I didn't mean anything by it. And I was like, okay, well, I noticed you behind me and it's making me uncomfortable. And they turned around.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
There you go. And then when I was in Peru traveling solo, I was in a marketplace and I noticed someone following me, a man following me. And my first thought was, oh, he's just curious about me. I probably don't look, like a local. So maybe he's just curious about who I am. But that was me talking myself out of my intuition. And so he was going to every other pillar that I passed and like waiting until I went to the next one and then peeking out and then running to the next pillar. So after a few, I decided I needed to address it. So I just turned around and I faced directly where I knew he was going to come out from behind the next pillar. He came out and he saw me standing there looking at him and he stopped. He just stopped and looked at me. And I looked at him. Neither of us said a word. And we looked at each other for about 5 seconds and he turned around and walked away, which was my indication that he really was following me. Because if he wasn't, he would have just kept walking and been like, why is this woman standing here looking at me? That's weird, and kept walking. But I interrupted that pattern of behavior with just confident body language, with just being aware and being willing to say, no, I'm not going to let this person make me afraid. I'm not going to let this person control my behavior. I'm going to turn around and see what happens next.
Yeah. Yeah. And we typically don't think about doing that. I would never think about just facing someone who I thought was following me. I would probably try to get away from them, but that is such a smart strategy to just really disarm them. And I've heard it said actually that that people who mean harm, whether it's to break into a vehicle or to attack a person, they go for the easy target. Like they don't want to work too hard. They don't want, if they meet resistance, they're more likely to try to go for something that's easier. So they talk about, I think it was some police officer or something was on a talk show, and he talked about how, if you can, as much barrier that you can, as many barriers as you can put up, to protect your vehicle or your house or he was just saying the harder it is, even if they could still get through it, if it takes more time to do that, they're less likely to keep trying. And so I guess it's a similar concept with us as in terms of our bodies. You want to make it as difficult as possible so that they may just not be interested anymore, because they're going to go for the easy target, not the one that, not the girl who seems very confident and is looking you dead in the eye and calling you out on your stuff. And they'd be like, you know what, this one's probably going to be a hard one to get. Yeah.
Exactly. So, my goal is to make everybody that person. Like, let everybody be that person. That's the person the predator doesn't want to mess with, so that they know, oh, wait, I'm not ever going to find a target. Okay, great. Now I cannot do my crime. Wonderful. That would be a great day if there was no more crime, because they had no one to target. But you're spot on. Assailants are not looking for a fight. or men that are trying to harm women, right? Predators that are, and I say men, not because I have anything against men, but because statistically speaking, 99% of all crimes on men, on women, and on children are committed by men. And that's statistics that are well known through, I mean, if you look on any study, that's just what it is. It's not saying all men are bad. It's saying that most of these attacks are perpetrated by men. So when men are targeting women, they're not targeting women who they think are strong. They're not trying to, they're looking for someone they think is vulnerable, like you said. They're looking for someone who's vulnerable. They're looking for someone who they think is vulnerable, who they think is distracted, who they think is lacking in credibility. And they don't want to get hurt. They don't want to get caught. And if anything could potentially cause one of those things to happen, then like you said, they're going to go and try to find another target. And my job is to make sure there are no other targets for them. But just that body language, and I want to clarify too, like learning self-defense skills doesn't mean that we're going to purposely put ourselves in a dangerous situation. I'm not going to purposely go into, an area that is known for a lot of crime and wear every piece of jewelry I have and walk with my money hanging out of my pockets and say, wow, I'm just going to try this. But, I'm going to live my life. There was actually someone who made a video last year saying something like women shouldn't go to the gas station at 2 a.m. If women went to the gas station at 2 a.m., we were looking for trouble, and that's where all the creeps hang out. And there was so much wrong with that because the majority of attacks are not stranger attacks. It's people we know. Second of all, I'm going to go to the gas station whenever I need to go to the gas station. I travel a lot for work. And like just recently, I was at the gas station at 3:30 in the morning because I had to drive from my hotel. I had an early flight and I had to fill up that morning before I went. I was at the gas station at 3:30. The way we make people safer is not to restrict their life and say, don't go to certain places at certain times. It's giving them the tools to where, hey, if you have to go to the gas station at 3:30 in the morning and you get there and there's someone who triggers your intuition or something seems off, go to a different gas station. Isn't that more empowering?
Yeah, actually it is. And it's funny, I'm laughing to myself because when my husband hears this, he's going to be like, what? Because he tells my daughter not to go places after a certain time, especially if she's by herself,
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I think that if we knew our daughters were self-aware and had these tools and knew how to handle themselves, we would be less fearful with them going to the gas station at 2 a.m. My daughter loves ice, so she'll run to Sonic, at midnight to get a cup of ice or whatever. And my husband's always like, don't do that. Don't do that if it's too late, And so, yeah, I think that because, especially as parents, because we can't control everything that our kids do or every place that they go, the what we need to do is give them what they need so that they can handle themselves wherever they go. And so, I know that we're probably about out of time, but I want, if you could, for you to just give us like the top three things. You kind of talked about it already. One of them was the awareness and intuition, following your mind, your first thought or whatever. Are there like other couple of things that you would say for sure, at the very least, make sure you have these in your toolkit? Yeah, so give us that, and then I have one more question after that.
Yeah. Intuition and awareness, the top two. The third, I would say, is your voice, feeling confident using your voice and speaking up for yourself and for your boundaries. And then the fourth thing that I would say is most important is knowing that you are worth fighting for. Like that knowledge alone is the best self-defense tool that you could ever carry with you, is just knowing that if you needed to defend yourself, if you needed to make a choice for your safety, whether that choice is getting to safety, avoiding a certain area when you got there, you realize that something's wrong, or having to physically defend yourself if you need to, that you are worth it, and give yourself permission to know that your body, your life, your safety, your comfort are all things that are worth fighting for.
Good stuff. So the other question I wanted to ask, if you would share with us how we can find you, how we can book you. Do you have anything coming up that we should know about? Because I think that what you are offering is just such an important service to women. I'm just so excited that you have been able to share some of them with us, but I know there's so much more. So tell us how we how we can log in, plug in, get you booked, whatever it is.
Yes, awesome. You can find me on my website, NicoleSnell.com. Also, my company website, girlsfightback.com. I have a YouTube channel where I have a series called Outdoor Defense, where I talk about self-defense for solo adventurers, hikers, travelers, that I put out episodes every 2 weeks. The next episode comes out on Tuesday, May 3rd, so you can check it out and make sure you subscribe. I have a Sassy Self-Defense Guide, which is a free PDF that has some self-defense strategies, where to find a full contact class if you're interested, and self-defense classes around the country. And then I also offer, in addition to doing the work with communities and organizations and schools, I can also do one-on-one private sessions for for anyone who's interested in learning a little bit in more of a one-on-one setting. I also offer that as well.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So curious to know, do you do any of these trainings virtually? I know in the age of COVID, a lot of things have had to be done. You know, if we couldn't get you here physically in person, would you be able to do something virtually? Is
Yes.
that an option?
100% yes, Kim. When COVID hit, I had to switch everything to virtual. And now that things are opening back up, I'm doing a mix of virtual and in person again. So whatever the person wants, I can do it. I'm getting ready to do a virtual event tomorrow, later next week, actually. And actually later the month of May. So if they go to my Instagram account, it'll have information on how they can get a ticket for a virtual event, or I can schedule a virtual event with the group if they're not able to bring me in person. The possibilities are endless. I will work with however I need to work with the group in order to get there.
That is awesome. You know, that is the one good thing that has come out of COVID, is this flexibility that we now have that we can do the work that we do in multiple ways, right? Like we've been able to sort of pivot. At first it was, you know, a burden because everything had to go online and we had to figure out Zoom and these different platforms. But actually I think it has benefited because it has, I think, expanded what we can do. So that now, regardless of where you are, you know, you can help people, you know, even across the country. So yeah, that's great, and it's perfect that you basically started in COVID, so
Yes.
so you already, you know, right from the beginning knew how to make that work. So that's fantastic. I'm so excited to know all the ways we can find you and all the offerings that you have. As I said, I will be definitely adding that to our Hey Girl High Five, because this by far is one of the most important services that anyone could offer, especially for us as women. I mean, this information that you're sharing is not common knowledge, and yet common knowledge is actually problematic. And so it's so important for some of those, you know, closely held beliefs to be shaken up a little bit so that we can actually live our best life, which is what we're supposed to be trying to do anyway.
Exactly. We're busting myths and we're passing out education, all in the effort of helping people live a more confident and free life, and also working to end violence. Because what all this does, this helps change the culture. By us learning this and passing it along, we're changing the stereotypes. We're changing the expectations. We are giving people more confidence. We're bringing awareness to these things, and all of those add up to changing things for the better. So we're all playing a part in this.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So happy that we have finally been able to connect. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing. I mean, just keep doing it. Keep, you know, you're so vibrant and energetic. You must be like the Energizer Bunny because you're doing all these things. But just keep doing it. Don't burn yourself out, but keep doing this. It's so important. And I definitely do hope that you know, are able to build and get a team of people so that you can, you know, not burn yourself out, but, you know, do even more. So I will continue following and supporting you and sharing your information. And I just thank you again for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I am just beyond thrilled we finally got to connect. And thank you for all you do and giving me the opportunity to speak to you and to speak to your audience. And hopefully we can help some women.
Absolutely. That's what we're going to do our best to do. Thank you again. I'm going to say goodbye to you. We're going to go to our scripture now. And of course, the scripture is appropriate for this theme. Be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. You know, this is really what this conversation has been all about. Like, God has empowered us to do so many things that we may not really be taking advantage of. And as women in particular, I think that we have been, unfortunately, we've fallen into this way of thinking that says that we don't have a right to be powerful and to walk boldly through this world. And in actuality, God has given us power and might, his power, and we can walk boldly. For people like Nicole Snell, who are out there giving us these tools, God has given them a special work to do, and I'm so thankful for her sharing these things with us. I hope you guys will support her as well, and give this information for yourself and for your daughters and for the women in your life especially, so that we can fulfill the purpose that God has for us, and we can walk boldly through this world and do the work that we have been purposed to do without fear. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode as much as I have enjoyed it. Getting to know Nicole and sharing her with all of you. And I can't believe that we're already at the end of this month's theme on health and fitness. It has been a good one. We have covered the gamut. And next month we'll have a brand new theme. I will share with you more about what's to come. So be sure to stay tuned. And until then, be strong and of good courage. God bless.